I didn't ask how big the room is. I said, I cast hell. Uriel is the latest in the Warframe lineup, with a unique twist on his mechanics as the demons on his shoulder guide your actions. What does he do, and how do you make the most out of it? I'm TheKengineer, let's solve a practical problem. Christmas merch is available throughout December, but will be gone with the new year. Grab yours now with a link in the description, and you can look snazzy while supporting the channel and real art. Uriel, the Devil Frame, is a simple Warframe that poses as a complicated one. He has your usual 4 active abilities, of course. His passive, however, is much more involved than average and is affected by Uriel's casting stats. Each of his first 3 abilities, once unlocked, provides a new passive demon that acts on its own around you, similar to a companion. The first ability demon, Catenach, slows and chains between 2 and 5 enemies, reapplying your damage across a larger group. Killing chained enemies provides a tiny charge to your 4th ability, less than 1%. The second ability demon, Gulphagor, goes full facehugger on a specific target, hurting them and causing them to erupt in fire and plentiful orbs on death. Killing a grabbed enemy provides 15% charge to your 4th ability. Enemies killed only by the fiery explosion afterwards do not provide any more charge. The third ability demon, Vythelas, consumes the nearby dead to produce floating runes. You and allies can each pick up these runes for a temporary fire rate and heat damage bonus. When you pick up a rune, you gain 5% charge to your 4th. The heat bonus is applied as a second hit, so it doesn't interfere with anyone's modding, although it can override similar buff effects like from Catenach. Each of these demons have small restrictions on when they activate their features. Catenach will only act when there are multiple enemies to chain. Gulphagor has a cooldown of a few seconds before engaging a new nearby enemy once the old one has been dispatched. Vythelas, though, has a more involved activation process. It'll only consume recently deceased corpses. As perhaps the first evidence we have seen of the 5-second rule in Warframe, a corpse that has been on the ground for just that short period is no longer a viable choice for Vythelas. Second, Vythelas avoids spawning more runes until the nearby one has been consumed. This appears to have a roughly 15 meter exclusion range. If you're solo, this requires collecting each rune as they happen, or otherwise approaching newly deceased enemies some small distance away. In a group, however, this becomes increasingly rapid. Any player picking up a rune is enough for Vythelas to consider it consumed and generate a new one nearby, even if you haven't grabbed it yet yourself. If you already have 3 runes generated and Vythelas would produce a 4th, your oldest rune vanishes for you. Beyond this, fellow Uriels in the squad will not interfere with your own rune generation, allowing runes to be created side by side by multiple different Vythelas demons. Effectively, multiple Uriels means multiple times the rune generation. All of this keys into how Uriel's abilities work in practice. His first ability, Infernalis, gives Uriel and his demons a fiery aura. This burns enemies that come within just a few meters of you or the demons, acting as a control ability by making them frequently panic. While it is active, Uriel can dodge roll midair to enter into his flying state. This forces you into continuous movement forwards, full 3-dimensional flight, and breaks crates in the vicinity as he travels. You can cease the flight at any time by dodging again, aiming, shooting, meleeing, hitting the floor, becoming stuck on terrain for a second, or by hold casting ability to end it entirely. The speed of this movement is affected by dodge speed, which is itself affected by particle velocity. This means buffs like Arcane Consequence, Mobilize, and Amalgam Barrel Diffusion all enhance your speed in flight mode. Be warned, this can become hard to control at high speeds. At this time, there is no ability to pull back on the throttle, as it were. Overall, Infernalis is a navigation and soft control ability, with the actual damage very much an afterthought outside of very early game missions. Remedium, the second ability, is a healing ability. It'll heal Uriel and his demons based on strength. If Uriel is at full health, the healing spills over into shields and overshields, but the amount gained by him is always scaled from Uriel's max health. Should any demons be dead, this ability immediately brings them back at full health, regardless of strength. Uriel is immune to damage while casting Remedium, which combined with the healing makes it a reliable restoration tool. However, Uriel lacks any innate damage reduction abilities and has only 105 armor to protect his health. His defense lies very much in keeping enemies busy with fire and death, not from tanking hits regularly. Its third ability is Demonium. Uriel sends forward up to 3 projectiles depending on how many demons are currently active. Doing so costs 10% of each demon's hit points. Each projectile, apparently the soul of each demon, will home in on targets to burn them and make them permanently more vulnerable to damage. Should you have Infernalis active, the projectiles will carry the fiery aura to burn all enemies around them. Each direct hit also increases the charge on your 4th ability by about 0.75%. This gain isn't unlimited, however. The demons can only hit around 5 enemies each, generating about 12% charge per cast and max. With just Demonium, it takes 9 casts to fully charge your 4th with this ability alone. I even tried putting 60 enemies together in one tightly grouped pile and still couldn't improve on this rate. Across these first 3 abilities, they do bits and pieces, but nothing truly outstanding other than demonic flight. Some fire around you, healing without damage reduction, and a damage boost against affected enemies, it's control and stat boost. Not to undersell it though, those stat boosts do add up. With unmodded effects alone, you can have a 30% fire rate boost, a 30% heat damage bonus, and 50% damage vulnerability on multiple enemies, and up to 5 enemies chained. Multiplying those effects together, that's a 12.675 times multiplier to your single target DPS in ideal conditions. With 200% strength, the total effect climbs to 25.6 times overall bonus. The downside is that you need to be following the rune pickups, focusing the chain targets, applying vulnerability, and otherwise be in a position to efficiently benefit from the combination of effects. It's not like just casting a high-powered Raw or Raffle Advance and having a strong basic buff. Curiously enough, while each demon is tied to an ability, replacing that ability with something from the helmet system doesn't remove the demon. Instead, it appears to remove all stats scaling from the demon's passive effects. For example, if you replace Demonium, you still receive runes from Vythelas, but they will be locked to a 30% benefit rather than scale with your strength. All of this culminates in powering of Uriel's 4th and ultimate ability. Unlike most Warframes, Uriel cannot simply cast this one. Instead, it must be fully charged to be unleashed, requiring you to utilize your Demonium and otherwise follow your demon's actions. This ultimate ability, Brimstone, turns a large area around you into a hellscape, boiling those enemies unlucky enough to be caught in Uriel's domain. The ability extends out to its full radius in all directions, passing through all walls and terrain without any impedance. Enemies caught in the zone take heat damage and a deluge of heat procs, receiving usually 4 procs every quarter of a second. As there's no limit to the heat procs on a target, this is 16 heat procs a second, scaling for the ability's duration, or more likely, scaling until the target's demise. The heat damage climbs over the first second as well to 10 times the base damage, and is substantially higher than the ability's suggestion of 1500 per second at base. Due to the speed of its hits, it is more like 12,000 per second at base, hitting 120,000 DPS after 1 second. Theoretical damage output gets rather inaccurate here, as the ability is hitting and ramping up far faster than the mod card would suggest. In one test, the very first hits were between 2 and 5 times what the base hit should be, all 5 times a quarter of a second later, between 6 and 9 times on the next tick, and finally all at 10 times a whole second into the ability. Taking that as the real scaling, though there's still variance and inconsistency, a 200% strength build with Arc and Vitality for double heat procs would apply 394,500 damage in the first 2 seconds directly. This would include a total of 64 heat procs that would keep applying that damage again every second until they all expire. Each second thereafter would apply another 240,000 damage and increase the heat proc ticks to match. This is, with no hint of exaggeration, a lot of damage. Full AoE, full application to all enemies, no line of sight restrictions. While most other frames have abilities which move from less powerful to more powerful as you go through their 1st to 4th abilities, Uriel's 4th is a literal ultimate. You can enhance the range, damage, and duration all as expected with casting stats. To be honest, the base power is so strong that range and duration are the more useful stats to focus on. With 280% range, it has a 42 meter radius, covering a floor area of 5,541 square meters, or a sphere of volume 310,000 cubic meters. To translate, that's just larger than the area of an American football field, or a volume of 124 Olympic swimming pools due to the spherical reach of Brimstone. Complemented with 326% duration, this lasts 32.6 seconds, which would apply up to 504 hits of max damage. Those are the actual numbers I have on this build here, delivering over 6 million direct damage to anything defiant enough to live that long. Bearing in mind, if the target is not proc resistant, it also would suffer in excess of 100 million heat proc damage by that point. There are not many enemies that can stand in 9-digit damage and survive. This goes especially while having their armor reduced, damage vulnerability from Demonium for more damage, and you're probably going to shoot that one jerk that refuses to perish. Now this build does use 5 Talforged Archon Shards for 75% extra duration to maximise the statistic. Is this necessary? Absolutely not. You can easily run lower duration, swapping in normal shards or using shards for casting speed and orb conversion instead. Alternatively, swap out Prime Continuity for Archon Intensify to further ramp up the power of all of his effects. Such obscene duration, however, does make the zone last as long as possible to really benefit from the build-up needed to cast it in the first place. You may be concerned, or hopeful, that this ability will be a serious eyesore for your allies. DE did think of this. While your Gulphagor demon will produce visible smaller zones of Brimstone when its target is killed, the full Brimstone ability is not visible to allies. They will see a faint energy zone at most, one similar in appearance to Zeneric's Wellspring. Only you will see the true infernal domain of your destruction, leaving you free to pick whatever energy colours work best for you. I've selected this bright orange and pure black pair to get a redder and more saturated effect compared to default Uriel. Beyond Uriel bringing a very little hell down on enemies, this is the core setup of his kit. A demon-guided killing spree until all hell breaks loose, at least for a moment. If you wish to build aside from using his 4th ability, I would recommend a lower range in favour of higher strength to get the most value out of his fire rate and damage buffs. You can also make use of Arcane's Hotshot and Cascadia Flare, which both scale with the many heat procs he delivers constantly. From my experience, Uriel doesn't need or want to be built into a health tank. As much as you could use mods and arcanes to turn the litany of health orbs into survival, this would come at the cost of what he does best when he works well enough through demon-based evasion. It's a surprise when you look at just the arsenal numbers, but in typical missions, he doesn't need that investment. Hopefully though, you can now see why I say that Uriel is a simple frame masquerading as a complicated one. Sure, he's got a lot of moving parts, but at its core, he brings a spread of general buffs and control features, culminating in a big zone of fire. Following the demons on your shoulder will quite literally guide you into hell. That's all from me on the topic of Uriel. Once again, check out the Christmas merch only available this December with the link below. And as always, grab runes, burn rooms, and fight well, Tenno.